Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Amuna. We're about to get started in 2.5 seconds. All right. We are back. My apologies. I had to keep pushing this back because I thought I was going to be back in time to get started. Then I had to stop it. I had to run some errands. I had to make some food, make sure everybody was good. But I'm here now. Okay. Oh, praise be to the Creator. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I think I'm going to have to make this a little session. I can't do it all one time. I'm just going to break it down and open it up for conversations. And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this. It's just basically, like I said, so many things have changed in these spaces that um, it's important, I guess, to echo some sentiments. So let's continue so as not to get off track early. How's everybody doing today? I hope you are doing well. I pray that you are doing well. You know, in the internet, all over social media, you have all of the gurus. Like I said before, gurus is popping out the closets. I'm like, what? Say word, right? There's a lot of information, and especially if you are biblical minded, it seems overwhelming to piece through, to move through some of this information to see if it applies to your walk, if it has any bearing, because a lot of the people who are disseminating things such as talking about chakras and all this stuff, there's a slippery slope. You know what I mean? If you follow them, at first you're like, oh, okay, I can hear you. And then quickly, and I do mean quickly, just like this guy here in the orange shirt, you can find yourself down the rabbit hole and into places, QT, what's going on that you did not plan for, right? And so I came across, actually, I've been riding around with one of my old notebooks. If anybody knows me, I love notebooks. I love writing down physically things. And I was like, this notebook has been writing with me for like the last 2 or 3 years. It's from about 7 years ago, but it has been writing in the car. I don't know why, everywhere I go. So I went to vacuum today, and I was like, the notebook is like, hey. I was like, Emuna, it's time for you to get back on track. Okay. That's not to say I won't review some of the madness that's going on into the streets, but I have to share my portion. So today, I wanted to talk about, is the root chakra real? There are a lot of people who are like, nah, that's not real. That's made up. The Indians did it and no such thing. And it really depends on where you're coming from, right? Your thought process, and if you're able to pick through what is being said or what's being given to us as this whole system. Now, it is said that the Indians, Hindus, are the ones who, yeah, you love notebooks too. Yeah, I love notebooks. Who mapped it out, right? Mapped out this, what is being called a chakra system. We have Oriental culture has mapped out what they understand the energy that flows within the body to be, right? And they have built healing modalities on that. So if you have different cultures understanding that different parts of the body affect other parts of the body, one would have to say, okay, what's going on here? I think because of our disconnect from a lot of ancient wisdom, not the other side of the wisdom I'm talking about, because you could have dark wisdom too. What I'm saying, the disconnect, then we're disconnected from ourselves, essentially the knowledge of self, and then we're disconnected from healing. So many moons ago, I've set out on this journey to not only just quote unquote heal, like, oh, I'm healing, but to understand the processes, that how can I systematically go about addressing the areas that may be troublesome to me, right? And so in doing so, I learned a lot. And that's one of the things I'm going to share with you today. And I'm going to do some cross references because, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to take it from me. You see what I'm saying? Reading Rainbow. Okay. So essentially, a chakra is and you can again look it up. The thought process is that this is an energy center by where information or energy comes into the body. And the thought process is that at different points within our system, energy can be fed into the body. And in some thoughts, it goes out on the other side, right? One of the, I don't want to get off track. So that's the overview of that. I'm not going to, like I said, go too deep. So it's thought that there are many different, but the main ones are seven. Okay. So the root, and I'm going to read it. So hold on one second. The root is said to be at the base of the spine. Okay. The base of the spine. Now I'm going to cross reference this because I was looking it up on my computer and I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to cross reference this with the way in which the baby develops in the womb, since we're having all of this baby conversation, right? Because the way the baby develops in the womb gives us a hint as to what areas certain energy may be trapped in, right? Or how the process progresses. For instance, let me just pull it up. Let me just pull it up and then I'll walk through. Because y'all know me, I have a million thoughts a minute and I don't want to get ahead of myself. So if you like, why is she stuttering like the dude from the video yesterday? It's because I don't want to get ahead of myself. And so I'm actually thinking before I speak. So hold on one second. Pregnancy, week by week. Okay. This one is at Mayo Clinic, right? Like, why is she talking about babies and chakras? Listen, just y'all know it's gonna take me a little second to get there. Okay, just hold on. First trimester. So the first one is said to be. Let me share my thing. The it is said to be at the base of the spine. Can we guess what is one of the first things to form while the child is in the womb? Don't believe Muna. Let me just go over here. Just so that I can cross reference and so that this is not some pie in the sky type of stuff that's going on here. Let me take off this real quick. And then I'm gonna tie it all into to healing in a minute, but okay. Pregnancy week by week. Okay. First trimester pregnancy, what to expect. But that's not the part I'm looking for. Hey, that's not the part I'm looking for. Hold on. I'm seeing it on my phone because I had it pulled up on my phone. In week 5, I want you to see it for yourself. Hold on. Pregnancy week 5 hormones. And then no, week 6, the neural tube closes. Week 6. Hold on. Here we go. All right, here we go. All right, right here, right? Let me make it bigger. This says, and it's telling you all what's happening up until week 6, okay? Week 6, growth is rapid this week. Just 4 weeks after conception, the neural tube along your baby's back is closing. The baby's brain and spinal cord will develop from the neural tube. The heart and other organs also are starting to form. Okay, so one of the first things that are forming that's going to house your spinal cord and all of the functions that you're going to need to operate is the neural tube, which later is going to house the spinal cord. Why did I bring that up? Because we see that one of the first things to form is connected with our very basic base survival. If perchance something happens in that area of the body, it threatens your very life. No, it threatens your very existence. What's going on, Sarai? I think there's some truth in many ways. As a family of humans, there's such wisdom and information we experience and express in different ways as cultures evolve. I agree. I agree. There is truth if we're willing to understand it and then apply it to see the value of it. I agree. So In that, and I'm trying to choose my words. In that respect, there is some validity to the understanding that all of the energy, because each thing that is growing within the child while it's in the room, the energy is concentrated in that direction. In the same way, if we plant a seed, the beginning parts of the energy when you plant that seed is not going towards the fruit, it's not going towards the leaves. Initially, it's going towards the roots, right? That's where the energy is concentrated. That's where the energy goes towards. So, what does that have to do with us? And why is this important? People will say, "Oh, Mona, that didn't prove anything. That just, it's a spine." And my point is, as we continue to read more about the root chakra, the root energy center that everything else in creation has, the question is, why is it that we as humans don't have it? And if we do have it, are we out of touch with how it works and what it represents in our journey, right? So it's said to be at the base of our spine, and it's heavily connected. That energy center is heavily connected with smell. You know, the five senses when we went to kindergarten? When we went to kindergarten, there were five senses, and that's what they told us. There are more, but in kindergarten, they tell us it's five. And one of which is smell. So, hold on. The root chakra, which has to do with our survivals, but I don't want to jump ahead of myself. I wanted to pull something up before I go there. Hold on. The root chakra is connected with smell, right? Let me share my screen again. So we're going back to the baby because the baby is going to teach us something. Everything that the Most High has made has an ability to teach us something if we're willing, okay? If we're willing to pay attention, if we're willing to learn. So the baby has a very, very strong sense of smell when it's first born. Let me go ahead and go over there real quick. And again, I'm pulling stuff up, so y'all just going to see with me. Yeah, we're out of touch, and that's why we're having this conversation, Sarai. So because once we realize that as a whole, then we can take our time to move towards the goal. You understand? The newborn sense of smell, why baby sense of smell is important, how and when your baby sense of smell develops. Newborns have a highly developed sense of smell. That means the newborn root chakra, which is the very basis of our survival, is on point. Okay. When that baby comes out, it is by smell that it locates. Uh, it is by smell that it locates its mother. Right? Here we are. Newborn senses. The sense of a newborn. Babies are born with five senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Some of the senses are not fully developed, right? Let me jump down here. Smell. Studies have found that newborns have a strong sense of smell. Newborns prefer. No, you just say it. I'm doing something. Hold on. See, they wait till you start. These are not newborns, but they wait till you're doing something so they can jump on you, right? Newborns prefer the smell of their own mothers, especially her breast milk. Why are we bringing this up? Because the root chakra is connected, among other things, the root chakra is connected with our sense of smell. And the baby uses that sense of smell for survival. Now that takes me into basic survival. What is going on in the root chakra when it is healthy? Because all of this is going to lead to how we work through our healing process for those who may be interested, or how we help to troubleshoot. Yeah, it locates the baby's breast. If you ever look at a newborn and they put the child on the mother's chest, the child starts bobbing around, the brand new baby, to locate where they can suck, which is another survival mechanism, because they know right away the moment they get here, how am I going to stay alive, right? And that is one of the core functions of the root chakra, which is basic survival, our material needs. Therefore, if we watch the way the infant or the newborn moves, it could kind of let us understand. But before we even get there, I just wanted to illustrate that we're seeing some of what is being delineated here in our everyday reality. But before I can get, I want to just dial it back a little bit. While we are in the womb, when first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, when each thing is being developed, whatever is happening energetically also affects the outcome. It's like when you're making a cake, if your oven is too high, if your oven is too low, if you overmix the batter, whatever happened, if the milk was too cold, whatever happened in each step of that cake making process is ultimately going to adversely affect it or positively affect the outcome, right? So when we look at the first trimester and we see that the spinal cord is being developed and the different parts, the heart is the first, the heartbeat, I didn't go back over there, but the heart is being developed. If something is happening during that time that throws off that natural development, it's going to show in the end product, which is the baby. So when we talk about why I don't have this problem, why you got that problem, because we all didn't go through, we went through the fundamental same processes, but we all didn't bake the same. It's, for instance, y'all know I like to bring it back to everyday reality. Say an artist like Kanye West, okay, who say each album is a baby, which many artists say, the album is their baby, the album is their child. So each album has a different feel. And each song on each album has a different feel. Because every time you go into the studio, whatever energy you're in, whatever you're feeling at that moment, whatever emotional state, that's going to determine what comes out during that studio session. So it is, and that's talking about something that we create, like music, that is not necessarily tangible, but it is something that you can feel. Don't close my book. It is something that you can feel. So it is with us as people. Even though we may have been created by the same people, each track is going to be different because at each point in time, something different was happening. Therefore, something different is translating to that child or that soul. I'm talking about, for those who just joined us, is the root chakra real? Because maybe in another class we can go into how we can identify some of the things that either went wrong or we're doing, some of the loops, some of the places that we're stuck in. But for now, we're just going over the general things. So this is connected to our base survival, okay? Like how are we going to stay alive? Our material needs. Another thing, once the baby locates and understands that, and I'm using the baby as an analogy because it's the closest thing to us when we incarnate here in the flesh, right? So the root has to do with the earth. It has to do with survival in the earth, right? So the baby needs to know that it's going to be secure and safe. That's another thing that we need. So the baby is looking for touch. The baby is looking for warmth. Sometimes the doctors in the hospital yank the baby out and just make the cold air hit them. And back in the day, they used to slap them. I don't know what, it was a male who was doing this, because why are you slapping the child, right? You're supposed to let the child know that they're a slave. Like, you imagine you go to a new country, you feel me? You don't know the language. All of these people are strangers. And the moment you get here, you trying to get your bearings, somebody just haul off and slap you. You're like, what? What did you do that for? You can't even defend yourself. Anyway, I digress. So I established that it is said to be at the spinal column or the base of the spine, and it also affects these parts: your bones, your legs, your feet, and your immune system. So some people, why is it important? Some people have leg issues. Some people have bone issues. Some people have feet issues. The way your feet are planted in the earth, the way, whether or not you can stand on your feet for long periods of time. All of these things are like clues. They're indicators to us that we may need to look at certain parts of our body. This is how holistic medicine works, right? They look at what's going on and they see what it's connected to, so they know how to treat the issue, right? Unlike in other places, but I'm not going to go there. So anywho, again, it's connected to feelings of security and feeling grounded. And again, if we look at the young child, some people say, and I've said this before, oh, as the child comes out, oh, the child is crying and the child needs, you to shove a pacifier. No, the child does not need you to shove a pacifier in your mouth. The child needs a few things. And unless they're in absolute pain or something is going on, once you do these things, that child is going to be good. And because we are disconnected to a certain degree, even from that process of meeting that new soul where they are, we do things that make us feel comfortable. But when you shove a pacifier early on, when that child is trying to express themselves, and the only way they know how to at that very early age is to cry, and we bury in their subconscious that your cries are annoying and you're bothering me, so I'm going to give you something to pacify yourself subconsciously. Because, sorry, 0 to 2, 0 to 7, all of the information that we're taking in is going into the file cabinet that oftentimes is not easily accessible. Okay, I'm going a little bit off, but I'm still on, so roll with it for a little bit. uh, so this is what the parent is affecting within the child, within their root system, because we're talking about root systems. And if root systems are real, then what are we putting in the roots? So the first part we're talking about is how we build up the soil. What state is the mother in before the seed is planted? What state is she in while the seed is being cultivated? Now, when you start to catch roots, like being born, then the things that people show you in and around you, your experience, is going to determine if you have root chakra issues. Right? So if you shove a binky, they make it sound cute, but what are you doing? You're pacifying the child. If the child knows, if I cry, I'm heard and my needs are met. If I'm wet, I'm uncomfortable. So please do it for me because I can't do it for myself. Right? If I feel uncomfortable, please pick me up. Maybe I have to burp. I can't help myself right now. So that feeling of helplessness within the soul is there. And if the child looks around in their environment and says, you know what? I can't depend upon nobody. Because early on we learn these things or not, whether or not we can depend on those people around us, whether or not the parent gives a look of disapproval or annoyance, or all of that is energy. The child cannot really understand your words. They feel your energy, right? And if this happens on a continuum, then what we learn as infants in our core, in the very root of who we are, is that this is not a safe place. It's going to all come together, y'all. It's going to all come together. Okay. So this system has to do with our security. It has to do with our feeling grounded. And it, like I said, it starts in the womb, because if you notice, when a child is in the womb, if the mother is afraid, the child will stiffen up, like freeze. Because when the dopamine is passing through her system, the dopamine is passing through the child's system. When the cortisol is passing through the mother's system, the cortisol is passing through the baby's system. The baby can feel what you're feeling emotionally, what you're thinking. You're transmitting telepathically to this being, okay, that only is able to, at this point, mostly read your energy, right? So all of this is going into that very base system, which affects everything else in our life. So you see all of these relationship conversations and blah blah, like, bruh, the basis of a lot of these relationship conversations, the reason why a lot of this stuff is not working is because you got root issues. Two major issues: you got root chakra issues, and you have sacral issues, which is the next one, but that's another day. That's another story for another day. um So that's the overview. There's some people who say that they're musical notes that correspond to each chakra. I find it interesting, as well as colors that correspond. So in one case, it's the color red, because the thought is that red vibrates, has the longest wavelength, and it resonates the lowest, uh, as it relates to our field of vision, what it is that we can see. So, and I said, the people that know what they're doing, is this true? And you notice that anytime they're trying to speak to our base desires, when, like for instance, survival, you'll see red. If they want to, within marketing, you see a lot of red. Within seduction, you see a lot of red. Within horror movies, you'll see a lot of red. And red speaks to our very source, our very basis of survival. Let me know if this is resonating. If you have any questions in the box, feel free to share. Let me see. So this is how I personally, over the years, in much study and much reflection. Like I bring it out a little bit here and there, but I haven't really holistically brought it out for many reasons. But I feel like sharing, so it is what it is. Another thing that speaks to um, the root chakra is the vibration that drums make. So if you notice when especially melanated people on the continent, what happens, we're in tune with the rhythm of the drum. And the rhythm of the drum, when you start playing the drum, what are most people inclined to do, especially when they're from a certain segment or a section of the world? They are going to start gyrating or moving around their root system. You understand what I'm saying? You'll be like, why are they dancing like that? What is going on with you? If you just pay attention when the drums start hitting, watch what they do. If and this is what they know in the music industry, when you put a drum beat, oh, the people are going to move because it's speaking to their very base self. Okay. Um, okay. So I don't want to go to now. I am going to go into when it is disrupted. But other colors besides red are brown, which we see in the earth, because that's easy to understand. When the plants are rooted, the ground is either black, it's brown, it's red. All of those colors when we look into nature, we actually see causes rooting. Those are the colors that vibrate. So when sometimes you ask people, what's your favorite color? Oh my goodness, what's your favorite color? It's really sometimes telling you what that person resonates with. And if you use it as a tool, then you can understand sometimes we resonate with something that we're a space that we're stuck at. So you can resonate with your hometown and be stuck there. It doesn't necessarily mean it's for your growth or elevation. It's just familiar with you and you resonate in that space. So instead of just like, oh my goodness, this is their favorite color, it actually gives us an insight into the individual of what they resonate with, and then it's an opportunity to explore why are you resonating with that color, because for some people, as you continue to grow, it changes. Right, when I was younger, I used to love blue. My mother couldn't buy me pink, nobody. You know what I mean? Pink, nobody. If it was pink, I wasn't doing it. I mean, amongst the coupled with the fact that I was the only girl amongst boys, you walking around with pink, it was going to be a problem. So, but my environment to a certain degree dictated what I resonated with. You know what I mean? But that's another story for another day. So when this system of ours, for whatever reason, be it from conception to about 7, okay, now you got a long little span there, about 7 years and 9 months. For this whole little good little jog here, if anything within this space, especially when that 0 to 2, before you can actually speak and articulate, and that's like in the file cabinet, that's like back in the file cabinet, okay. Whatever is going on, if something is thrown off within this time, we develop behaviors to um, allow us to cope with our realities. And these behaviors, we grow with them, and then we say stuff like, I've always been like that, or I've always done that, and we ourselves don't know why we've always done that, or why because we have forgotten, or it's veiled from us, our experience. Right, so we adapted, but we don't know why we adapted. What was the catalyst? What is the thing that happened that pushed us to where we felt the need to adopt this type of behavior or this type of mindset? For instance, when the child is needs are not being met, yeah, whatever that soul, because we don't know what's going on, it's a baby, can't talk, but the soul is very conscious. So whatever that soul is telling itself, like, this is how you're gonna have to do it, the child begins to grow up. What's going on, Q? The child grows up and is moving through, and then we're like, oh, this child is just very quiet and reserved. Nah, you ain't never listened to the child. You talk about quiet and reserved. The child doesn't trust you. Not in all cases, but in many cases. You're not a comfort, and you're not a safe place. So now you out here in the streets talking about the child had all of this time to realize whether or not you were a place that a person that I could depend on, whether it's the family unit, whatever. And if they found out that wasn't the case, then they went about doing whatever it is they needed to do. Where am I? So, am I safe? Am I protected? Am I cared for? Are some of the questions that that part of our development uh, asks. Am I safe? Am I protected? Am I cared for? And like I said, if the answer is no to any one of those, then look out for whatever maladaptation that's going to take place so that the child will feel comforted. So, for instance, if the child's cries are not being heard and they want to soothe themselves, sometimes they suck their own finger or whatever it is that they do to feel what it is that they need to feel, right? So let me go ahead. Feelings of when we feel imbalanced, we feel ungrounded, right? So like we feel flighty. Like I'm talking about adulthood now. You don't feel grounded. When we're grounded, when they say that person is grounded, that person is aware of their surroundings. They're connected to the earth in a certain way because they're able to get what it is that they need to get. But when people are disconnected, like ungrounded to a certain degree, some people who are ungrounded, they don't even like to take off their shoes and walk. They don't like the feeling of stuff on their feet. Not all, but I've observed some people who are ungrounded. Um, and you say, take your shoes off. Like, now I always got to walk around with my socks. Like, what? You know what I mean? Walk on the grass. I don't like how it feels on my foot. You know, because our feet, remember, those are one of the body parts that connects with the earth. So if we want to be grounded, I'm gonna jump ahead, but one of the correction tools is to learn how to ground your energy. If we look at grounding, you have to allow your bare feet to make contact with the earth, and the earth is going to allow to ground that negative energy. And if we walk around like that for some time, whether it be at the beach, whether it be in our yard, whether it be in a patch of grass in front of your apartment, I don't know, just as long as it's not concrete, somewhere where you can connect for a minute, you're going to start to feel differently. But there are some people who won't allow for that. And if you don't, it doesn't mean like you're, oh my goodness, you're a terrible person. All it's telling you is that, hey, there's a disconnect somewhere. Okay. Let me know if y'all can hear me loud and clear. Let me know if y'all can hear me loud and clear. Ooh, lower back pain and foot pain. So these are all, now I'm going into the little indicators. If you've always had this nagging lower back pain, or you've always had foot pain and nobody knows what it is, one of the things is your pelvis or your back may be off and you may need to go check a chiropractor, right? But the bigger problem is, okay, what's going on in this area? Because if energy is caught in this area and it's not allowed to flow and it's causing dis-ease in this space, that's also an indication that's telling you that, hey, you may not be connected, you may not be grounded. This is not medical advice, by the way. I forgot to say that. Oh man, and I forgot to see, don't nobody be reminding me about my little old background music. Let me put a little background music on this thing right quick. There we go. There we go. And I told myself, I was like, yo, Mona, you gotta put your background music on. And I ain't even do it. Anyway, so signs of being imbalanced, lower back pain, foot pain, bone issues, lack of energy. This is a big one. Lack of energy, right? Some of us may be iron deficient. I was iron deficient since I was young. Sorry, so I've always had to take iron supplement. But for a lot of melanated people, some of that has to do with sickle cell traits, right? But that's another story for another day. Um, Chronic fatigue. People who no matter need 100 cups of coffee, no matter how much they try, they can't, get up and stay up. Just low on energy. That means that there is a blockage somewhere in your root system. Now, it can be, like I said, a physical blockage that's manifesting, but it's actually coming from an energetic space. Okay. I'm going through my notebook, y'all. So y'all just hold on 1 second. inability to manifest material abundance, right? There's a lot of, oh, I'm manifesting. That's how they got us doing mantras and everything. But sometimes there is a blockage, because if we look into the earth, there was actually a Bible text that says the earth is the most highest in the fullness thereof, right? So if we look into the earth and we see abundance, but for some reason we are not able to manifest abundance, then somewhere along the line it indicates to us that thank you, Queen T. Somewhere along the line, it indicates to us that there's a blockage somewhere, right? I want to give the 1 second. That's Psalms 24:1. I just wanted to get it. So when we look out and we see abundance, but we're unable to righteously, because people can manifest what they're saying is abundance, but it's not the source that it's coming from is corrupted, right? And that's another thing that's going on in this day and time, that we see people and we're like, ooh, abundance, but it's coming from a corrupt source. This is Psalms 24:1. The earth is the most highest in the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell in them, right? So it's like, this is all the creative stuff. People are like, I own this, I got 50 properties. None of this stuff is yours. None of this stuff is ours. It says the earth is the most highest in the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell in it. Sometimes we are a little bit diluted, but it's okay, because that's another conversation for another day. But so the root is a place where, if it is imbalanced, we're going to see it manifested in many ways that will help us to get to the core. Now, like I said, this for me, it has been one of the harder ones to identify personally, because there's a lot of information that's beyond the reach of the memory. And this is why I advocate for talking to the elders, talking to your parents if they're still alive, right? So that you can get an understanding of what may have been happening. How were you injured? If you were injured, in what way? So then you know how to go about fixing things. Feeling unimportant or insignificant. If I think they have done much research in child development, even among plants. The tone that you take with children and even plants, if you smile at them, like when I go to the store or I'm outside and I see a child, random child, and I'm just smiling at them. Just sometimes they look, and sometimes they you know how the parent have the child over their shoulder, and they'll just smile, because they're receiving your energy and they're mirroring it back to you, right? But if for perchance, during this growth phase, the child does not feel important, or the child feels insignificant, that reflection would have come from the caretakers, right? That if they're too busy, or there's too much stress, or you got to worry about this and you got to worry about that. And it doesn't mean that the parents were just terrible people. Sometimes we don't understand the gravity, because we're so caught up in the things we need to do and what we need to accomplish. We don't understand the gravity and the longevity. It's the gravity, really. I don't want to say longevity. We don't know how far-reaching the consequences of our behavior during this time is. Like, whatever we put in this time is what this individual is going to have to wrestle with going forward. So either people like to say, I'm putting my child in Head Start. I'm putting my child in Head Start. You are the Head Start, right? You are the Head Start. Like, this time, grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, this time of this child being introduced, we are the welcome committee when this soul comes into the earth, to tell them, hey, this is a safe place. This is not a safe place. You can trust people. You can't trust people. And when we don't realize how important it is, then, we out here talking about we healing generational curses. I'm not saying no, but I'm tired today. You understand? Anywho, so feeling unimportant or insignificant regarding basic needs. Feeling unsupported. Okay. There's some I think there was like a video of some sorts where a little child was trying to pour grape juice. Now, grape juice on the table, and the child spilling the stuff. This is where they learn. No, give it to me. Give it here. I'll do it. You don't know that. And when you put that energy in there, boom, 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 that you're teaching that child. Oh, whatever it is that you're programming them. And because sometimes we're annoyed and we don't have time and we're agitated and we're short fused, you don't realize that you're their first reference. Where else they're learning from? You're the one. If they're walking and you're come on, and you're snatching them up, or they're trying and you're cowing them down, you don't realize how you look to such a little person. Sometimes even I'll talk to my daughter and I'll say something, and if it jars her, she'll be like, "Mommy," and I have to realize in that moment, "All right, my bad. I need to come at you like that," right? Because we think that, oh, because you're small, then you don't feel. Of course they feel. Actually, they feel more because they're more in touch with feelings because they don't have the words to express. So the intellect is not fully developed, and so they feel more than we think they feel. Poor health, another one, again, is something that's connected to. I gotta turn the light on now. It's getting dark, and I need to see now. Constipation. I think my children think I'm obsessed with cleansing. But constipation, diarrhea, or something to deal with that area. Now, I've said it before that in this 0 to 7 phase, where you're teaching the child this is a safe place, when they're learning to relieve themselves or go to the bathroom in the appropriate way at the appropriate time, this is one of the key areas that people are damaged or can be damaged if we mishandle this potty training process. Okay, if we mishandle, because remember, it's an experience for them. They're feeling a sensation that they have to relieve themselves, and they have to get there in time, and they have to learn control, and they have to learn coordination, and they have to learn all of these things, right? And if their learning is an inconvenience, or if our learning when we were little were an inconvenience to our parents, it's a part of shame, where if you made a mistake they shamed you, then all of that energy, all of that disapproval, all of that unable to trust is going to be stuck in you. Where else did it go? Like, did you go and communicate to your parent, like, yeah, mom, so the last time I wasn't appreciative of the way. No, you don't have all those words. You don't have all those words. When I first learned to potty train her early on, and I think I did too good, because my grandmother told me early, put her on the pot. But I went a step further and gave her like, songs to where now when she went to the bath, she wanted a song. I was like, look, little girl, you know what I mean? To show you that it's okay. This happens because of the sensation and because of what they're actually doing. After a while, they're aware that it stinks. They're aware that this is excrement. They're aware. So if you come around and make it even worse, then you can shame them to a certain degree, and then they internalize that shame, right, for a very base need. You know what I mean? Let me continue here. So these are some of the other things, and I know I'm going long here. I'm gonna wind down. Let me see here. Hold on. I'll come back and do more. Let me see. Oh, another sign beyond. So I gave some physical signs. I gave some of where it is said, according to my research, that a lot of this energy gets stuck in. Again, the lower back, foot pain, back pain within your bones, low energy, chronic fatigue. That means we're disconnected. We're disconnected. Okay. Um, it's like, for instance, how can we understand this in today's same time? If you have a charger, but the charger is not charging well. So no matter how you plug your phone in overnight, when you come in the morning, you still only got one cell. You only have 15%. And you mad, like, oh, I got to go to the store. I got to go get a new charger because this charger is not charging anymore. That's kind of like how we are. No matter how you do all of these things, because the charger, you're not connected to energetically to the earth. We're not. KK's over there barking. Let me continue. Living in the past. What's all this noise? Living in the past, for somebody who can't get over the past, inability to let go. So we're talking about forgiveness, because letting go is forgiveness, right? So for some people who are stuck, they're living in the past, they're unable to let go of the things that have wronged them. That's indication, according to my research, that this is a root chakra problem. We're disconnected, so we have to hold on to everything. For instance, one of the things, and his name is Professor Edwin Nichols, and he does the overview of different cultures and their value system. I always talk about it because it stayed with me ever since I heard that lecture that he gave. And the value system, he was saying, was based for different people like Asian and Indian and African and European, is based on their surroundings, right? So on the continent, everything is abundant. The weather is always what it needs to be. There isn't any shortage of food, in the sense of, I mean, there's certain shortages when drought come, but I'm talking about abundance. There isn't like this cold, terrible winter that's going to come and take away all your food. So what he was saying is that created a different mindset within the people of the continent versus the people of the Caucasus Mountains, who there is a shortage at this time, and you have a short growing season and all of these things, which is going to create a mindset of scarcity. So on one side, you have the mindset of abundance. If it's not this season, it's that season. This fruit is bearing and that fruit is bearing. And then on the other side, you have a scarcity mindset. When these two thought processes come together, one doesn't understand the other. For instance, in the case of when the European came and the Indian, according to his thought process, is that, and his research is that they don't feel as though they own anything, right? That was one of the culture dictates, is that everything is communicative, everything is collective. You don't own the land, right? So when the European came with a different mindset of, this is mine, I'm gonna own it. At first, they've never been introduced to it, so they didn't necessarily understand it. And that's kind of, I forgot why I went over there. Hold on, let me put myself back here. Oh, on the inability to let go, right? And so hoarding, the scarcity mindset contributes to the inability to let go. If we look at shows like Hoarders, is a perfect illustration of the inability to let go. And somebody with a hoarder mindset has a root chakra injury. If you can understand now, I'm pulling it all together. I told you I would. How we can look at what's happening outside. What we're doing in this culture is like, oh my goodness, look what's happening. And not really be able to look at it. Okay, wow, that's the inability to let go right there. That's a root chakra injury. I bet you if we go into that thought process, we're going to have to find something that led to this place that the person is physically manifesting this type of behavior in. And it's not so much to do it for other people, although it's easier to see it in other people, is to get the tools so that we can do it for ourselves. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm gonna stop it right there. Oh, I'll come back and talk about some of the things. There are more things. There are more things that helps us to understand why and how things are imbalanced, and then from there we can go into how to balance it. Because this one, what happens is that people can have all type of imbalances, meaning your root chakra can be very closed, and then your heart chakra could be closed, but then your sacral could be open. And everybody doesn't have the same setup, because like I said, it's depending upon the information that has been fed into this being that's going to determine what you're seeing. So therefore everybody's situation is not the same. But when you see somebody who is totally imbalanced, for instance, if your root chakra is overactive, okay, you can be not only just a hoarder, you can be a person who everything is for you. Everything is mine. You in here like Monopoly, right? You taking everything, you like Scrooge McDuck. Everything is onto yourself, right? somebody who is unable to catch their bearings and impoverished, and that also is an indication that there's a root chakra issue, but it's one that it's closed. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's not just it's one way or the other. It really depends on the experience and how the person rationalizes it to themselves and the steps that they take to adapt to make them feel, because ultimately what are they trying to get in this space? Equilibrium. They're trying to get to where they feel safe and feel protected and feel like their needs are met. For some people it's in collecting all of these things, because if I collect all of these things then I'm going to be safe and my needs are met. So when you go into hoarders, if you ever watch the show, when they don't have the permission of the hoarder to move their things, you will see them physically, emotionally begin to break down. Like literally start having panic attacks, because in their mind, all of these things represented safety and security, and you are robbing them of that safety and security. So even though they're trying to make a little TLC show and they're trying to be entertaining for the audience, they're causing real-time psychological stress on the person, because the person has not willingly let those things go. We'll come back. Let me know if this was helpful, if you got anything from it. We'll come back and talk more about the disorders in this space. So then we can, so a lot of the relationships that we see, the codependent relationships that we see, the 100 million, the 100 million relationship experts. I'll give y'all a joke before I go, because this was some heavy stuff, so I'm gonna lighten it up. There's a girl on TikTok. It was funny though. It was a Nigerian girl, and she summed it up perfectly. What's going on? Like everybody's a relationship expert now. So she made a little skit like she's married, but she only been married for 5 minutes, and she gonna start a YouTube channel telling all the women who are not married what they're doing wrong. I thought that was hilarious, because that's exactly what's happening right now. There's a lot of people who are just looking to make content and just pulling stuff off the internet, and somebody in some video somewhere told them to make 3 TikToks a day, and they're out here putting out information that they themselves haven't moved through. And I always say that this knowledge, if we don't apply it for ourselves, and we don't benefit from it in any way, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. You know what I mean? But I thought that was funny. She was like, "I've been married for 5 minutes. Let me tell you how it goes." They've been married for 5 minutes. Now they over here the Dalai Lama or somebody saying. I'm like, what's going on? That's exactly how it's happening right now. So let me see if anybody have any questions or comments. Feel free to share at this time. I'm gonna run a quick little commercial. If you have any questions or comments, then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna wrap it up. See, this is why I had to make sure I did everything before I sat down, because otherwise else they'll be knocking on my door. So when we come back again, we'll talk about a little bit more of the signs that the root chakra is imbalanced. And then we're going to talk about some of the actual things, because there's some things that you can physically do, like grounding. I already talked about that, so I'll say that. There's some things that you can physically do with light grounding. You're welcome, Sarai. Walking on the beach, walking in your grass at your house. If you don't like it, try it for the longest that you can, and then identify the feelings. Are you feeling anxious? Because another way of mapping our way through is to identify, name the feeling that you're feeling. Like when I go out and talk to and do the classes with the children, right? The cooking classes. I try to introduce them to new things. Okay. First of all, they're funny. You know what I mean? Like if I could go to children, somebody told me you should do a non-for-profit so you could go. Children are funny, they are entertaining. Anywho, so I introduce them to new things, and they don't care. They just gonna holler stuff out because they're in that phase. They're in that 0 to 7. I don't like it, right? And I say to them, that's fine. Their teachers are like, don't say that. I was like, no, it's okay. Let them say what it is they like. and they don't like. But then I say to them, it's okay to say I don't like it. I said, but now if you can put a little bit more words to it, why don't you like it? I said, describe for me. Because sometimes when we were younger, we didn't even have that opportunity. If you said you didn't like it, it was like, what? You didn't have the opportunity to articulate. So some of us may be trapped in the I don't like it phase because we were never given permission to express ourselves because we weren't grown. Okay. So you're not grown, so you can't express yourself. Listen to that thought process. You know what I mean? You're not grown, so you can't express yourself. Like, what? What are we talking about? So I say to them, what part don't you like? Is it the texture? Is it the smell? So that they can articulate. And what I try to share with them is, if it's something that you can change, like when we made parfait the other day. They said, I don't like the yogurt, because I gave them plant-based yogurt, right? Because I was, you know what I mean? And they're like, I don't like the yogurt. I was like, cool. All right, no problem. What other type of yogurt would you use? Because if it's something that you can change, why sit and complain that you don't like it when you have the recipe, you have the formula, you can just change that if that is a variable. And then they didn't have an objection. So my point is, because oftentimes at that phase of our development, we were rendered helpless to some degree because we weren't allowed an opportunity to express ourselves. It was perceived as being disrespectful. Some of us are stuck right where the children just holler, I don't like it. And we don't have the words, or we don't feel safe enough to say why we don't like this thing. So if you can't, or you feel like, I don't like walking on the earth. Is it the way it feels against your foot? Is your foot extra sensitive? Then you begin to, I have anxiety. I think an ant is going to bite me. Begin to address what you don't like, and you can begin to see, is it a fear? Did I get this from somebody else? Was it instilled in me? Was I allowed as a child to walk barefoot? Did my parents say I was going to smell like outside? Because usually, another thing I see in as an adult now, looking around children, when one child has a thought, if the other child's mind is not stable enough, they just gonna say the same thing. Like after the third one, every child, no, half the room. Let me not say every child. I don't like, like you just said the same thing Johnny just said, right? And sometimes it's not our thought, is my point. Sometimes somebody seeded our minds with that thought, and we internalized it because they didn't like it. We shouldn't like it either. No, I see you on YouTube. I see you on YouTube, Ronald. I see you on YouTube. Yeah, the crown and the third eye is what everybody, well, mostly third eye people are running around with, not realizing that um I have my thoughts on that. I'll reserve it. Not, but all I'll say is it's a process. And if you were here earlier, we look at how the child develops in the womb. And one of the first things that develops, let me read it again here before we go. One of the first things that develops in the fetal development in the first trimester is the neural tube. They say that closes. And in doing so, that's going to be the area that the spinal cord and the brain is going to develop from. And we know that that is what is going to, like the CPU, that's what's going to run the system, of the body. So when we talk about the core of who we are, and we talk about root damage, like, how they say if the plant got root damage, or it's there's fungus on the roots, then we know it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect the fruit. It's going to affect the leaves. It's going to affect the lifespan of the plant. Once you have root damage, it's affecting everything else. So when you talk about the healing process, for me, in my experience, this is the first place you need to look. This is the first place you need to look. So any more questions or comments? If you missed something and you want me to go over it again, I will do so before I peace out. Oh no, the sun is going down and I can't see. I have my little light. So just a quick recap for those who came in late. The root chakra, the question was, is the root chakra real? According to my research, it has validity. Understanding how energy gets into our body, how information is transferred. I have been able to see that there is validity in understanding this particular concept. And the location is thought to be at the base of the spine. It is connected to our smell, and smell, we know, if we don't, is connected to memory strongly. So usually we can smell something and a memory comes back, right? Because smell is connected to memory. So keep that in mind. And that's very primal. They say that the cologne that people are using and the perfume, did I say perfume? The perfume that people are using are covering up the natural pheromones that in ancient cultures were used to determine or to attract one mate to the other, right? So that may be contribute to the confusion we experience in today's space and time too, because you can't tell the real scent of the partner because it's covered up. And I'm not talking about the funky scent. I'm talking about the natural pheromones of the right partner, right? Because through smell you can tell if someone is sick or if somebody is well or whatever the case may be, if something is off with the person. But because we use so many things to cover up those smells, that has also compromised us as well. It's connected to our material needs. I went over that. Places that will be affected are your bones, your leg, your feet, your immune system. It's connected to our feelings of security and feeling grounded and our physical energy. If you're out of energy, lethargic, and things of that nature, we may be disconnected in this area. If when we were young, I'm just going over it, if we didn't feel safe and protected, and cared for, then it will create an imbalance in our root chakra. A lot of these people in relationship problems, whether the narcissist and the codependent, and all of these things are illustrative of damage oftentimes in the root chakra and beyond. Or just energy center. I don't like saying chakra all the time because you're like, oh my goodness, I'm over here talking about chakras. I'm just talking about that part, that phase of our development. So, inability to manifest material abundance may also be contribute to that scarcity or lack mindset. So when you hear people talking about they're addressing scarcity and lack mindset, another way of saying that is that they have limited beliefs or experiences that may allow us to believe that we're not able to get all that we need to survive, right? And that shows us where that is coming from. Poor health, constipation, diarrhea, all of those are in that area. Inability to let go, living in the past. My phone is ringing. And the colors black, brown, rust, these earth tones are all connected in this area. So with that said, hold on a second. With that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you don't have any other questions, Ronald said he thinks New York is a cross between red and yellow chakras. I mean, energetically, New York is survival mode. So I would say the root system is what oftentimes is illustrated, which is the survival. Just can you survive? This is why you have the saying, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Because New York is about base survival and asserting yourself and do you belong here, and can you secure your space, right? Everything, unless you're in the suburbs or uptown somewhere, but everything in the for the most part in the hustle and bustle of New York is about survival. And it's a survival of the fittest. That's what they say. It's a concrete jungle. You understand? So they call it the New York state of mind, right? When I'm in Florida, I'm in Florida. But for those who were born and bred in a certain place, or even if you went there afterwards, when you get there, you can't bring I'm in Florida mind to New York. There is another, you switch over. It's survival. You got to make sure you, like I tell my children, I'm like, what, y'all too lax. I got to, because you also know the other part of you where you got to get to where you're getting. You got to get there safely. You got to make sure nobody, is behind you. All of these things because you're in a space where everybody is just trying to survive. And that is true of many major cities, urban spaces that creates that. And then you realize when somebody wants to elevate, oftentimes at first they will move to Jersey, and then they're like, no, I'm gonna move to Virginia, and then we just started moving further. So now we're gonna move to Georgia, and then we become more relaxed, and your mind becomes more open, because now you don't have to be in survival mode. And anybody from New York, let me know if I'm bugging or if this is what it is, right? So it's a whole different mentality. But once you come outside of that space and you can kind of relax a little bit, then you have an opportunity to grow. Because if you walk around not on that level, oftentimes people could mistake you for being a sucker. Like, for instance, if you go into the store and you don't realize that people are not waiting in line and they're just walking up to the guy and slapping the money on the counter, or they're yelling their orders out, and you just sitting there in the corner like, I'll just wait, you're probably never going to be seen. So it teaches you to assert yourself. If you're trying to get on the train and you got to yell out, you got to be a bit pushy and assertive. That's the kind of place, that's what it forces you to become. Right? That's what it forces you to become. Yeah, when you when you in New York, you have to go to the New York state of mind. You have to. Or even in driving, like here, people, you wave your hand out the window and somebody will will be like, oh, just come on through, but in New York, you be like, I'm gonna take my spot. But that's not to say that kind-hearted people are not there. That's the other flip side of it. There's a lot of kind-hearted people there, but overall, it's the hustle and bustle. It's the hustle and bustle. But anywho, where we at? 106. So if you've enjoyed this little discussion type of moment that we're having about these deep topics, let me know, and that'll let me know whether or not I schedule out some time to come back through and do some more. And hopefully it'll help anybody who needs help along their journey. So with that said, let me go ahead and play my little like, subscribe, and comment. Oh, let me do my what you call it?
Jamaica woman, I'm a strong Jamaica woman.
I've been watching you, watching me, and I know you want to like, subscribe, and comment. No, I'm playing, but for real, like, subscribe, and comment. Join the conversation. You don't know. All right, we'll talk again. I have to come back with the next part of the Marvin Gaye, so look out for that sometime this week. All right, one.